But Salam's flat was fine, and the blinds were closed. It looked lonely because of the fire. Looking around, you saw black smoke still rising from other houses. The sky was dirty. The donkeys and horses were gone, and a cluster of damaged buggies stood by the street corner like unwashed dishes in a sink. Even the birds were absent from the wires. You wanted Salam to come out on the balcony. You wanted to see her face. Your heart began to beat faster because you imagined her standing there behind the blinds, waiting for you. You imagined her sitting on her bed with her parents. You imagined her being told she would now have to pick a new best friend. You saw her playing with Hadiya. You saw them going to braid their hair and heard them giggling. Hearing them address each other as best friend, you balled your fist and wanted Salam to run onto the balcony. A part of our house has been burned too, Daddy said, squatting behind you, holding your shoulders. If you open the window, the smoke will come in. It's bad out there. Your daddy's pugot has been vandalized, Mommy said, sitting on your bed. Where's Salam? They're fine, Dena Nachu, she said, and Daddy pulled you away from the window back to your bed. Your daddy and her daddy spoke this morning about you two. There's tension between us and them. Did you quarrel with Emaye Salam? I know, she's a sweet woman, she said. Daddy was quiet, fidgeting with the broken remote and the batteries. On the wall of your room you saw the world map your teacher, Etiye Mulu, had taught you to trace in school. Your eyes came to Africa, our continent, which best friend had penned on the map in her sweet handwriting, and you fought back tears. Mommy hugged you. Daddy, did you quarrel with Abaye Salam? Not us, as in us, Daddy said. It's not personal, Mommy said. You know they're Muslims? Yes. Faith differences, he said. Just faith differences. Faith? It's complex, she said. It's a difficult time, he said, nodding. Are they bad people? No, not really, she said. Okay, you said, though you understood nothing. Are we going to school tomorrow? Not tomorrow. Nega ati hijim, Daddy said. Soon, baby, soon, Mommy said. That evening, lights came on in Salam's flat. You rushed and opened your blinds and looked. Her blinds were also open, but nobody was there. You pinched yourself for not being there when the blinds parted. You waited there in silence, hoping for someone, a shadow, to walk by the window. Nothing. For the next 2 days, when Mommy left the house, Daddy stayed with you. When Daddy left the house, Mommy stayed with you. Though the streets were filling up again, and the birds had returned to the wires, your house help didn't return. You dreamed bad dreams of Salam, even in your afternoon naps. In one dream, she turned her face away from you and would not answer your greetings. When she looked at you, she wore a scowl, which burst her dimples. On her balcony, she recited the multiplication tables with Hadiya, and taught her the beautiful handwriting, and shared her smiling cow toffees with her. Hadiya's English became better than yours. While Hadiya's face became leaner and prettier, and Salam liked her walk, you became ugly and twisted like the old coffee trees of Jima. You felt so bad you sobbed, and Hadiya came to hug you. She told you it wasn't Salam's fault, that her parents wanted her to avoid you because you weren't one of them. You cried all the more because it was Hadiya who was hugging you, not best friend. In the afternoon, you pretended to be reading in your room so that you could watch Salam's flat from behind your blinds, in spite of the dreams. You were sure she would not come onto the balcony, but you kept vigil because you wanted to see if Hadiya would visit her. But suddenly, Salam tiptoed onto the balcony. Against the burned-out flat she looked like a ghost. Her face was pale against the afternoon sun, and seemed to have deep wrinkles, like the top of hambasha bread. She looked skinny and even shorter in the few days you hadn't seen her. Her shama, a gauze-like white material covering her from head to foot, fluttered in the wind. Would she run back if you appeared? If you disobeyed Mommy and Daddy and spoke to her, would she disobey her Mommy and Daddy? and respond? Or would she report you to her parents, who might come to your parents? Would she snub you, like in the dreams? Afraid, you hid and poured your gaze on her like the sun on a cold day. Salam stared at your flat, but you didn't move. She grabbed the balcony rail and looked down onto the streets. This way, that way, and you tried to follow her gaze, in case she was expecting Hadiyah. At dinner, Mommy and Daddy told you to cheer up. They told you not to nibble your food. They chatted excitedly, like Salam and Hadiyah did in your dreams, and poured you more and more Coke. Tomorrow afternoon, Mommy said, we'll travel to Addis to see our relatives. When are we coming back? We've not even left yet, Daddy said. What's wrong with you these days? You broke the remote the other day. Get over it. Darling, it's okay, she said, calming him down. Then she turned to you. We'll be back in a week. Baminia is too tense right now. Kazim Mutat Alebin. I don't want to go. Hey, what language is that? She said, tapping the masab, our handmade wicker hourglass-shaped table. And it's rude to interrupt when another person is speaking. You closed your mouth so that they would not scold you. You started eating up, since they were now waiting for you. You cut a big piece of injera and poured the meat sauce and a clod of vegetables onto it. You rolled it and turned up one end of the flat spongy bread so the vegetables and sauce wouldn't leak, and began to chew from the other end hurriedly. You drank the Coke, drank water, and thanked them. You returned to your room while they talked about how the government had kept the complex thing from the news, and how it had done the same thing when Muslim radicals suddenly slaughtered Christians in Jima churches 2 years back. The next afternoon you came onto the balcony. Salama also appeared on her balcony. You looked at each other without words. You followed each other's gaze, to the coffee fields, to the hills, to the sun. The sky was cloudy. The streets emitted a low buzz below, and 2 donkeys brayed in the distance. The winds came in from the hills, fresh and steady. The birds lined the wires, some facing you and others facing her, in silence, as if they were awaiting the beginning of a race. Slowly, Salam lifted her hand and waved to you, as if the hand belonged to another person. You waved back slowly, too. She opened her mouth slowly, and mimed to you, and you mimed back, I can't hear you. She waved with 2 hands, and you waved with 2 hands. She smiled at you. Her dimples were perfect, little dark cups in her cheeks. You opened your mouth and smiled, flashing all your teeth. Hugsy, Hugsy, you mimed to her. There was a puzzled look on her face. You embraced the wind with both hands and gave an imaginary friend a peck. She immediately hugged herself, blowing you a kiss. She looked back furtively, gave you a signal to disappear, and rushed inside herself. You retreated too, behind the blinds. Imaye Salam surfaced, her angry face framed by a scarf. She looked at your flat and scanned the streets, then went back in. You smiled, because you had discovered a new language. You went to Mommy and Daddy and asked them when you were leaving for Addis. Addis will be fun, Mommy said, and continued packing. You'll make new friends there. Yes, Mommy. Daddy paused from sipping his beer. Good girl. I'll buy a new remote. The end.